Taiwan. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joyce Tseng with the latest news. A U.S. Taiwan defense industry conference has wrapped up in the U.S. state of Virginia, where security analysts and officials discussed how to best defend Taiwan. Our reporter Jaime Ocon was there.
This might seem like your average hotel entrance, but behind these closed doors, defense and security analysts discuss the future of Taiwan. Almost 200 officials and experts from the U.S. and Taiwan gathered here in Williamsburg, Virginia, to talk about the best ways to ensure Taiwan's security. And after 3 days of discussions, the organizer of the conference says it was a fruitful discussion.
In the keynote speeches, in our private meetings with the U.S. government, with the Taiwan government, that there's been an evolution of the threat, a broadening of the recognition of the challenge from China, and as a consequence, the needs that Taiwan has in the national defense area.
The U.S. Taiwan Defense Industry Conference has been held annually for almost 20 years and looks to connect U.S. weapons makers with Taiwanese officials. A delegation from Taiwan's defense ministry was present, led by one of the country's deputy defense ministers. They came to the conference with a major request.
让这个整个武器的这个生产，还有它这个维持妥善，能够在国内建立相关的总能，我想这是我们所共同期盼的。我们会把这个意向跟美方做一个充分的一个表达。
The U.S. boasts the most advanced military tech in the world, and Taipei relies almost exclusively on Washington for military hardware. Taiwan has been boosting its domestic defense industry, but still needs help from the U.S. for more advanced munitions like missiles. The U.S. rarely shares sensitive military tech with anyone, but given the threat from China and its increased pressure on Taiwan, Washington is starting to consider the idea of co-producing these weapons with Taipei. Some analysts feel that's the direction the two sides should pursue.
Taiwan has a lot of catching up to do. And so to the extent that the United States could help Taiwan, whether it's technology transfer, whether it's co-production or something else, I think that we should pursue essentially everything that we can.
But beyond making weapons together, this conference also touched on the need for Taiwan to invest more in surveillance and information sharing capabilities. The idea is to modernize how the country gathers intelligence and then shares that data with other partners in the region to create what's called a Common Operating Picture, or COP. This way, countries can be on the same page when monitoring Chinese military activity.
Then you can generate a overlaid pictures. Then you can share in precise location, exactly the matters, the story, trace back 3 days ago, predict another 3 days ahead. This is a COP. It's just a tool. But without the COP, senior leaders, based on their imagination, reading 3 pages of a report, cannot make a fair decision.
With this year's conference over, Taiwanese officials will return home to implement what they've learned here into the country's defense, while U.S. officials will head to Washington and urge decision makers to continue helping Taiwan. Devin Tai and Jaime Ocon in Washington, D.C. for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is preparing for Typhoon Koinu, which is expected to make landfall on the southeast coast in the next few days. Some businesses closed and access to beaches was restricted after weather officials issued a land warning. Several flights and ferries to outlying islands have also been canceled. Koinu could be the second typhoon to make landfall this year after Typhoon Haikui hit the country in early September. Labor groups are condemning a lack of pro-worker policies from the main presidential candidates. As the campaign moves into its final 100 days, labor rights activists held a rally in the capital. John Van Trieste was there.
Soaked by the rain and surrounded by police, a group of labor activists gather in Taipei with a message for candidates in the upcoming presidential election that demands for better working conditions are not going away. Since they banded together in 2016, the group has been holding rallies before every presidential vote. But this time, just 100 days before people go to the polls, there's a different kind of anger in the air. There could be 4 serious presidential hopefuls this time, but the activists say each of the candidates has been too busy attacking each other to pay attention to workers' problems.
到目前为止都还没有正式的一个立场来表态说要去挺劳动政策的，或者是说有发布这个劳动政策白皮书的部分。
Disillusionment with mainstream parties runs high here. The tiny Labour Party is one of the contingents out in force. But these protesters still want to make it clear that worker support can't be taken for granted.
那这4个总统候选人对我来说，目前我看起来都是一个比较是偏重资本家的这个立场的。我们也希望说能够让这些总统候选人可以看到，这个劳工的选票其实是，如果是你需要的，有一些彻底的改变，在这个阶段应该是非常重要。
There are 7 specific changes they want. Some are familiar, like calls for higher wages and more days off. But recent events have added to the list of demands. A factory explosion in late September killed 10 people and injured over 100 more. Inspectors later found the factory had committed numerous safety violations leading up to the tragedy. Firefighters, who lost 4 of their colleagues in the disaster, say this isn't an isolated case. They want greater workplace safety protections and bigger penalties for factory owners who break the law.
这已经是台湾在这10年来第3起的集体殉职事件了。所以消防员非常的愤慨，为什么政府长期的去漠视消防员的职业安全问题，以及不让消防员组织工会为自己发声？
As the campaign enters its final stages, there are plenty of other events, including the upcoming National Day celebrations, which are likely to grab attention. But in the drizzle, these activists say they won't stand for ignoring the problems faced by the country's workers any longer. Howard Zhang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The leaders of a communist party in Taiwan have been accused of receiving aid from China. The money was allegedly used to influence elections in Taiwan. Tiffany Wong has more.
Protesting U.S. influence in Taiwan. These are members of the Taiwan People's Communist Party, a fringe group advocating unification with China. Their leaders, now facing trial in Taiwan. Prosecutors say Chairman Linda Wang, Vice Chairman Tseng Jianxing, and one other received instructions and funding from Beijing for close to a decade. It's an accusation they deny.
基本上我参与政治20几年来，我每一次选举都是自己出钱出力，从来没有人给我赞助。那时候我们有一些自愿来的朋友，从基隆、从桃园，那我们想说，那你从这么远来，对不对？我给你一个车马费，合不合理？
It's not illegal to be a communist or support unification in Taiwan, but it is illegal to get support from a hostile nation like China. That's due to the Anti-Infiltration Act, a law passed in 2020 to protect Taiwan's elections from hostile foreign interference. The law prevents people from canvassing, disrupting assemblies, and spreading disinformation with the direction or funding of a hostile foreign power. Taiwan frequently faces cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns from Chinese actors targeting its democratic institutions. A report released earlier this year by Doublethink Lab, a Taiwanese NGO that researches Chinese influence overseas, showed that Taiwan was the country most influenced by China in society and media.
Starting from last December, actually after our recent election, there are like more and more, a lot of united front work activities right now here in Taiwan, a lot.
3 other people whose organizations received funding from China to try and influence Taiwanese society were indicted for violating the Anti-Infiltration Act earlier this year. With presidential elections coming up in Taiwan next year, authorities are on high alert for any suspected Chinese influence campaigns, and voters will need to judge for themselves where a candidate's true loyalty lies. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
The economy minister says Taiwan's companies are not supplying critical chip technologies to Chinese tech giant Huawei. It was in response to a Bloomberg report saying 4 firms are helping Huawei build a chip manufacturing network despite U.S. sanctions. 2 of the firms also denied the claims. Minister Wang Meihua says officials will keep a close eye on local companies to ensure they follow national security laws. In international news, a deadly shooting in one of Thailand's busiest and most famous shopping malls has shaken the nation. The suspected attacker, a minor, will be charged with premeditated murder and possessing an illegal firearm. Here's the latest.
Chaotic scenes out of Bangkok after a shooter opened fire in one of the city's busiest shopping malls, Siam Paragon. killing 2 people and critically injuring 5.
We see all the people run. We don't understand why it happened. And so we go after them. And after that we hear a shots, very shots.
ด้วยเพราะว่าตอนวิ่งหนีไม่มีใครบอกแล้วอย่างหนึ่งที่เนี่ยทุกคนวิ่งกันอย่างเงี้ยเป็นประจำเพราะว่าทุกคนวิ่งตามดาราบ้างอะไรบ้างแล้วเหมือนมันไม่ได้มีใครบอกเขาว่าเราต้องหนีเพราะอะไร
Located in a dense, heavily congested commercial district, the mall is usually packed with locals and tourists. Police disarmed and detained the 14-year-old suspected shooter within an hour of the incident. The weapon used was a modified handgun that was originally designed to fire blanks. Authorities say the minor appears to suffer from mental illness.
ผู้ต้องหาเป็นเยาวชนมันอยู่ในความเป็นพรบเรื่องของเด็กอันนี้เรื่องผู้ต้องหาขออย่าถามเป็นเยาวชนเราทำทุกมาตรการในการป้องกันเหตุกับนักท่องเที่ยวมากเราทั้งห้างเองที่เป็นซอฟต์ทาร์เก็ตเราก็มาแต่เหตุเนี่ยบางทีมันout of control จริงๆ
Police have confirmed the 2 people killed were visitors from China and Myanmar. This comes as Thailand is working to revive its tourism sector, a crucial driver for Southeast Asia's second largest economy. Just weeks ago, the country's newly appointed Prime Minister, Seta Thavisin, waived visas for Chinese nationals and personally greeted the first to arrive under the new plan at the airport. This incident could now hamper his efforts to attract more tourists. It also comes just days before the 1-year anniversary of Thailand's worst mass killing. Last October, an ex-policeman killed dozens of people, mostly children, in a gun and knife attack at a rural nursery in northeastern Thailand. Analysts say this kind of violence may be part of a deeper social problem.
Even though mass shooting is not very common in Thailand, but every day we would hear about incidents about violence, people killing each other.
Many say youth mental health, something families have traditionally been expected to take responsibility for, has also been getting worse since the pandemic. With investigations into the mall shooting still ongoing, people are watching to see if the new administration will step up and address the issue head-on.
For the first time in U.S. history, the Speaker of the House of Representatives has been voted out.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
House members voted 216 to 210 to remove Republican Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. The vote was largely along party lines, though several right-wing Republicans also voted for his removal. The House will be led by an interim Speaker until a permanent replacement is found. The vote to oust McCarthy comes just a few days after Congress approved emergency funding to prevent a government shutdown. Back in Taiwan, influenza is spreading quickly, with over 7 deaths and 110,000 cases reported last week. The Centers for Disease Control says that the flu wave is expected to keep climbing through early November before peaking in mid-January. The government is offering free flu vaccines to vulnerable groups like seniors and young children, with almost 7 million doses available. Shots for older adults without high-risk conditions will start next month. In sports, Taiwanese boxer Gan Jiawei has won silver in the men's 71-kilogram category at the Asian Games. The Games, which are being held in Hangzhou, China, also saw Taiwan's baseball team advance to the Super Round after beating Hong Kong in a 15-0 blowout. Taiwan's team has gone undefeated in the group stages, winning against Thailand and South Korea. Taking a look at current standings, China is ranked first, followed by Japan and South Korea. Taiwan, competing as Chinese Taipei, is staying strong at number 6. The teams still have 5 days left to give it their all. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally today, we leave you with images of parkourists showing off their moves in Madagascar. I'm Joyce. Take care and see you next time.